on the Sports Bash. Andrew DiCecco set to join us for a little football at 4 here as we take a look at the Eagles and the Carolina Panthers. And obviously, the Eagles trying to take care of business here, keep pace with the Lions, and depending on what happens tonight, they could possibly surpass the Lions here. And we'll talk to Andrew about that, because if Philadelphia wins on Sunday and somehow the Packers knock off the Lions tonight, I believe our math would say that Philadelphia would jump Detroit and they would be the number 1 seed based on common opponents. And then we would have 4 weeks ago. It's a wild time, Andrew. Andrew DiCecco from Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. He joins us now with a look at the Eagles and the Carolina Panthers. And I know, Andrew, we've had some interesting matchups, the Ravens and the Rams games. Those ones had a lot of interesting situations. And then Carolina comes to town. But you can't overlook this team at this time of the year. This is another big game with that number 1 seed right there to grab.
Yeah, every week is an opportunity to really stake your claim as one of the NFL's best. And, you catch a team like Detroit Lions slipping. If you're the Eagles, I think that they've proven that they take every week as if it's a must-win situation, and that starts with their preparation throughout the week. And, yeah, I mean, when you look at what this Carolina Panthers team has on paper, it's not much. I mean, Chuba Hubbard's a nice running back. I like Jalen Coker. I interviewed him for our InsideTheBirds.com or Inside the Birds podcast. He was a great kid, but he's now their number 1 receiver, undrafted free agent at a Holy Cross. So, I mean, they don't have a ton of options there, nor do they defensively. But it's still, you can't overlook any opponent, and the Eagles have proven that no matter how good or how bad the opponent may be, they don't overlook them.
Yeah, and, you take a look at Carolina. They've been playing better the last couple of weeks. They gave Kansas City a scare. They took Tampa to the wire, gave them a scare. We know Tampa has beaten not only Philadelphia, but also Detroit. So it seems that Carolina is a team, and you're a guy who studies the draft a lot. We've seen a lot of these young quarterbacks. Bryce Young did not play well last year. He did not get off to a good start this year. They benched him. But it seems like a formula might be that some of these guys just need to kind of take a step back sometimes, and he's played some pretty good football, and that makes them a little bit more interesting than maybe if you played Carolina 6-7 weeks ago.
Yeah, you know me, Mike. It's almost like I've been saying over the past, however many years we've been doing this, is that, young players progress at different rates, and sometimes it's not a one-size-fits-all. So oftentimes young players need a chance to take a step back, learn the game, have things slow down for them a little bit before they're really able to step in and be the player that franchise envisioned them to be. And look, do I envision Bryce Young being suddenly, an upper echelon quarterback, or did I ever view him that way? No, but I certainly think he can be a lot better than what he's shown. And I do believe that he's starting to now settle into the game plan a little bit, and things are starting to slow down for him. And I don't expect the Eagles to take this team lightly, despite what their record may indicate. This strikes me as being a game where it might be a little closer than it probably should. Just, you look at that afternoon game, you got the Carolina Panthers coming in, and I don't want to say it's going to be a snooze fest or the Eagles are going to be on autopilot, but it's a game where I think the Panthers are going to be playing out of desperation and try and scratch and claw. And the Eagles will respond, but I just have a feeling it's not going to be the prettiest game.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on, you just said it. Okay, it could be a snooze fest, but what do you want to see the Eagles accomplish in this game? And I guess we're all assuming they win the game, and that's a tough assumption in the NFL because crazy things happen all the time. But how do you want to see the Eagles approach this in terms of, let's talk about their offense first, because I do think a lot of people, Andrew, keep saying, man, there's still something missing in this offense, or maybe it's not, and you don't want to peak at too early, but is there something you'd like to see more from this offense, maybe starting with an opponent like Carolina?
Well, this certainly is an opportunity for the Eagles to really get their passing game on track. The running game's always going to be there. The offensive line's always going to be there when you need them, but you need to be able to dial into that passing game, have the chemistry there across the board, not just with A.J. Brown. Dallas Goedert, in all likelihood, won't be there this week, so you got to try and fine-tune things, work the middle of the field, get Grant Calcaterra involved because he's, in all likelihood, going to be the starter. And I just really think that this gives the Eagles a chance to really hone in on their passing game, because if there's one weakness or one area of question, I would say, not even a weakness, it is the passing game, and can they sustain that for 60 minutes if they have to? You've seen it in spurts. You've seen Jalen Hurts make some tremendous throws. in tight windows, but it has to be a lot more consistent, and it certainly has to be earlier in games because better opponents will pounce on the Eagles if they're not able to if they're a one-dimensional team.
Yeah, this is a situation, too, where a lot of talk this week has been about the Eagles' kind of one-dimensional nature, and the talk is centered around Jalen Hurts. I know yesterday Nick Sirianni said he's cut down his interceptions. He's an explosive player, and they're winning, and the big reason is Jalen Hurts. The numbers don't say that, but is he right?
Yeah, I think Nick Sirianni isn't sort of just trying to be nice and throw compliments in the way of his quarterback. I think that there's many different ways to win in the NFL, and a lot of folks expect it to be a 350-yard passing game from the quarterback, but it doesn't always work that way. You can be an effective signal caller and lead the offense in many different ways, and I think the way that Jalen's doing it now is he's keeping the football out of harm's way. He's making timely throws. He's sort of overseeing the running game, and he's putting unique stresses on teams, being that +1 in the running game. And he's really he's been exceptional in the 4-minute offense, which Nick Sirianni has alluded to on multiple occasions. So there's many things that I think you can point to and say Jalen has evolved in these areas. But would you like to see them maybe hit on some of these explosive plays? Yeah, especially with the talent that they have. But I would also say that the Eagles haven't had their core, their passing game core of Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith all playing together very much this season. So I think that also attributes to some of the clunkiness that you might see in the passing game. And I think all things considered, Jalen's done a nice job in navigating that and finding ways to still be a factor while leaning on the running game.
Andrew, I got this text I want to get your thoughts on. It says, most people can see that if a game ends up in Hurts' hands, down by 2 or more scores and going back and forth, Hurts is not capable of spraying the ball around and keeping it up. That's from one of our listeners here on the Sports Bash. Thoughts on that comment?
I disagree, and with that, and I hate to keep going back to Super Bowl 57 because it was forever ago, but I think we saw Jalen be able to spread the ball around. Dallas Goedert had a remarkable outing in that game. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, I think you would like to see them get the running backs more involved in the passing game because that's another wrinkle that teams would have to account for. But largely, I think Jalen has proven that when the lights are brightest and the stakes are highest, he is going to elevate his performance. There's something about him that almost like a switch is flicked, and he's able to kind of elevate his game and those around him. And it's a special quality, and I can't really explain it, but I think he's proven that in high leverage moments, he's willing to step up and make those plays.
Yeah, it's funny because as we're having this conversation, Matt from Cape May texts, Mike, I disagree with Jalen Hurts. He's not playing well, and I actually feel like he is what is holding the Eagles back from winning a Super Bowl. Is it odd to you that is the sentiment among the Eagles fans, that they're watching Jalen Hurts and they think that he's part of a problem here, as opposed to being a reason why they have, been 10-2 this year?
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre, and I kind of go back to what I was saying earlier, that a lot of folk expect quarterbacks to play and the stat line to look a certain way, whether that's right or wrong. I mean, there's many ways to lead an offense and really pilot and keep the ball and just be the secure signal caller back there. And I think Jalen has proven that he can win in a multitude of ways. And this year, you got to give credit to him first and foremost. He's taken sort of a backseat to Saquon Barkley. But he's doing a lot of things behind the scenes. He's taking care of the minute details of the offense, and I think in many ways you're seeing the maturation of Jalen and being able to protect the football, make timely decisions, sort of direct traffic, and make sure that he's keeping the offense on schedule. It doesn't look the way that a lot of folks maybe would like. He's doing a great job and a big reason why the Eagles are in position to where they are. But let's not kid ourselves. Saquon Barkley is, of course, the driving force of that offense. But I don't think that we can discredit what Jalen Hurts has done.
All right, Andrew, let's get a couple quick hitters here with Andrew DiCecco from InsideTheBirds.com. Eagles and the Panthers this weekend. The injury situation, let's look at that real quick. Devontae Smith looks like he is back on the practice field. I mean, you were there yesterday. You get a sense that he will play in the game?
Yeah, that's the sense that I get right now. And I've had some folks float it my way. Do you think that the Eagles should hold them out? Because it's the Panthers, they should be able to win. The Eagles have proven, whether it's given Saquon Barkley a ton of carries and Jalen Carter taking on 99% of the snaps, they're going to do whatever it takes to win that week. And I think if Devontae is 100%, which it looks to be that he is, he was full participant Wednesday, and obviously he's trending in the positive direction. I would expect him to be out there. Devontae is a competitor in every sense, and he wants to be out there more than anybody. So, yes, I do think you'll see him out there Sunday.
Yeah, good sign to get him back. I agree. You got to get these two guys working, and that's another thing with Jalen Hurts in the offense is they really have not played like a stretch of games where they've been at full strength, and it's hard to get that continuity and get it flowing where you've got guys in and out of the lineup. I mean, you play with those guys 2 weeks, then Brown is out. You play with those guys a couple of weeks, then Smith goes out, and now Goddard's out again. This offense has not been at full strength virtually the whole season here. On the defensive side, Blankenship concussion, that's always kind of tricky. You never know what's going to happen there. If Blankenship is out, who fills in? What do you think about that safety spot?
Yeah, so if Reed Blankenship can't play, which it's a tricky proposition to expect someone to get through a concussion protocol in a week. Britton Covey's done it last year. Van Sumeren did it this year, but it doesn't happen all that often. So if he can't go, look for Tristan McCollum to make his first NFL start at safety. And look, I've mentioned Tristan on your program many times, and he's a player that I always come away really impressed with every time I talk to him. Spoke to him after the game Sunday in Baltimore, and to be able to step in that moment, in the mid-game when Reed leaves, and for the defense not to miss a beat, that speaks to the preparation from Tristan and the coaching staff, but also just the communication on the back end. So I do believe that he'll be just fine playing opposite C.J. Gardner-Johnson, steadying the ship until Blankenship gets back. And, another thing to mention that I don't believe you touched on is that Sidney Brown missed Wednesday's practice with a knee injury. So that's another player that the Eagles could potentially be down. Now, we're still early in the process here, but if he can't go, keep an eye on undrafted safety Andre Sam, who's on the practice squad, to get the elevation and give the Eagles an extra body at that position.
All right, one guy I want to talk about, you wrote about Cooper DeJean over at InsideTheBirds.com and just kind of got his reaction. Everybody's talking about that tackle, the form tackle, but I think his ability to tackle just in general, forget the fact that he body slams Derrick Henry, the fact that he makes that tackle in the open field against Jamar Chase. I think what he has brought to this secondary in terms of just tackling has really changed the dynamics of this defense.
Yeah, it sure has. And I mentioned it to him Wednesday that he's part of a defense that I believe really embodies the personality of Philadelphia. And, just rugged, tough, blue collar, pull no punches, take no prisoners. And they all just rally to the football, and they're not worried about accolades. They're worried about production. They're worried about getting wins. So I think Cooper DeJean, he's come so far in such a short period of time. A lot of folks forget that it wasn't until after the bye week that he was really a starter. But for him to be able to process things and diagnose as quickly as he does, attack downhill, and really just, he's never afraid of the moment. And that, you can also say the same thing about Quinyon Mitchell. But I think Cooper DeJean, the insertion of him at the nickel role almost transformed that defense on the back end in many ways. So I think he's been a really good complement to what they've been building on that side of the ball.
Yeah, he's fun to watch, man. I'll tell you, him and Mitchell together, this is a lot of fun watching these two. If there's something in this game, Andrew, that sticks out about Carolina that would worry you, what is that?
I would just say, I don't even want to say maybe the running game with Chuba Hubbard, but the Eagles they stifled the opposition's running game. You look at what they did to Derrick Henry. I just think maybe, you catch them snoozing on a play here or there, they maybe get a spark. But other than that, I really honestly don't see a path in which the Carolina Panthers are able to get out to much of a lead or really do much of anything offensively. And then defensively, I think the Eagles should be able to have their way, whether it be through the air or on the ground. But I think this is a really good spot for them to really iron things out in the passing game.
Real quick, I'm glad you brought the defense because Jalix Hunt, I want to get your thoughts. I thought 58 kept coming up on my screen. What do you think of where Hunt has, kind of progressed to at this stage of the season? Can he continue to get better and help this team?
Yeah, I mean, he's further along than anyone could have expected. You remember when he was selected at pick number 94, and he's coming out of Houston Christian. The resounding sentiment was, everybody before they even saw him play, he's a redshirt player. He's a raw project, and he's not going to help the Eagles until at least 1 or 2 seasons. Well, not so fast, because he put together a decent training camp, Mike, and he, throughout the season, it was very evident that the work that he was putting in behind the scenes, stuff I've been able to gather as well, I mean, it all indicates that he was putting in the work and watching film and trying to pick up things along the way to help accelerate his development. Lane Johnson on Wednesday mentioned that it was evident that going against him, he was like, this guy should be playing. So he's getting stronger, he's getting more confident, and I think he's really starting to settle into what Vic Fangio is asking him to do on defense. So I think that's a pleasant surprise. He's now your third edge rusher on defense, so much is going to be expected of him, fair or unfair. And I think he's really answered the bell thus far, and we're going to learn a lot about him in these coming weeks here.
Yeah, you and I talked about how Brandon Graham set the edge last week. There was a couple plays where I saw 58 kind of, put his foot in there, turn himself, and turn that running back towards the linebackers. And I think it was a big reason why you see a guy like Zach Bond, 13 tackles, Nakobe Dean, 10 tackles. It's another week for him to get better. They're going to need it. They're going to need to find pass rush and someone to set that edge on the run. I thought Jalix Hunt played well. We got plenty more to go on Eagles and Carolina football at 4 here with Andrew DiCecco. And, of course, tomorrow, Adam Kaplan will be here. We'll talk Eagles, Carolina with him. Andrew, always a pleasure, my friend. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike. Likewise.
All right, Andrew DiCecco, football at 4 from the Inside the Birds podcast and InsideTheBirds.com here on the Sports Bash.